Hey everyone, Cedric from Vertex Marketing Agency, and in this video, I'm going to show you how we can send events to TikTok via the server. I'm also going to show you how you can send it via the browser. And when I mean via the server, I'm talking about the TikTok conversion API. So that's something that a lot of you guys have requested. So finally, I'm making the video. And if you're a subscriber to this channel, you probably noticed that I made a video about TikTok tracking about 2 to 3 weeks ago. This one was just showing you how to install the TikTok pixel on your website. But this one, it's even more advanced because we're also doing server-side tracking, right? So we're sending events to the TikTok conversion API. So that's just like an additional layer. And in this video, I'm gonna walk you through the entire process. I've also made a template that you guys can just easily download and add that to your Google Tag Manager container, because we're gonna be using Google Tag Manager, both the web container and the server container, to set all that up. If you don't know what a Google Tag Manager server container is, I'm gonna show you how to create one. In this video, you'll see the entire process. So after watching this video, you should be able to have a functioning server-side setup and browser setup sending events to TikTok. So with that being said, let's get into this week's content. Okay, so I am now inside my demo Google Tag Manager account. And if you don't have a Google Tag Manager account, you can create one. It's completely free. Just go to tagmanager.google.com and then you can create, again, your web container. So that's the first thing you're gonna need. You're gonna need your web container. And then the second thing you're gonna need is a server container, because the web container, really what it does is that it sends the information via the browser. That's just regular browser tracking. And then the other one is the server side tracking, right? And then TikTok has made an API that accepts information. So we're gonna be able to send the data that we collect about your users directly to the TikTok conversion API. And really guys, that's the best way to track users on the TikTok platform, but then same thing with the Facebook platform. And I've made another video showing you how to do that with Facebook, in case you guys also wanna do it for that platform. But there's nothing that beats both browser and server side tracking. So with that being said, I'm gonna click now on admin, and I'm gonna hit the little plus icon right here. And now this is where you can just give it a name, and then you wanna select server, so the last option here. And if ever you were to create your first web container, you'd probably see like something similar, right, for the web container, but you would wanna select the web container. But in this example, we select server container because that's what we're trying to create. Now this, you can name it whatever, it doesn't really matter. Since this is a demo, I'm probably gonna just name this TikTok Cappy demo, and then I can just go ahead and save this and create. Now, once I create, we're gonna see a pop-up. So this pop-up right here, you do not wanna click on the blue button. What we're gonna do is we're gonna click on manually provision tagging servers. And there's really two reasons why I recommend the second option. Is number one, it's actually because it's a lot easier to set up than the Google server. Google server, you gotta work with a terminal to like upgrade your server and to also make changes in the amount of servers that you have. But with the other one, it's like a simple user interface. And then the second thing is it's actually a lot cheaper as well, because when you're working with the server, like a server is not free, just like a bit like a server for your website, like it's not free. You got to pay for, I guess, for server hosting. So that's the main reason why I say to select the second option. And I know I just mentioned website server, and that's a question I get often. No, you cannot use your web hosting company to do this. Those are like two different things. So again, just select the second option. Is going to be a lot easier for you to set up. So select the second option, then hit this icon right here to copy it. I'm going to close it and then just save that code somewhere. Now we have the server container. So now what we gotta do is we just gotta import the template that I've made. So like I told you guys earlier in this video, I already did all the hard work and I've made templates, and in that template, it includes like tags and variables for both the web and the server container. And all you gotta do really is import that, and your setup is going to be complete. You just got to tweak your triggers. And I'm also going to show you how it all works in case you guys want to modify a few things. But you want to go and navigate to this landing page right here. It's going to be, the link is going to be in the description of this video. And when you're viewing it, there's going to be a video here. You don't need to watch that video. That video that's on that landing page is the same video you're watching here. It's just in case you lose the video on YouTube, then I don't know, you're going to be able to maybe save that landing page and also watch it here, okay? But it's the same video, you don't need to watch it. So now you just got to fill out this form, and then you're going to receive 2 emails. So let me just show you. I'm going to fill out the form. Perfect, so I just submitted the form. So now I should receive 2 emails. So let me go to my email. I'm just gonna refresh that. Okay, so that's the email, that's the first one. So start with this one. So go ahead and click the get file. You're gonna see this page right here. And on this page, you're gonna see 2 templates. So this one is for the server container. and then this one right here is for the web container. So you're gonna wanna download both. So I'm downloading this one right here, and you wanna make sure that it's being downloaded as a JSON file, okay? If ever you're not downloading as a JSON file, I don't know, let's say you download this and it downloads as a .txt, then that is not an issue with the file or the template, that's an issue with your computer. And it has to do with the way that your computer is saving the file, okay? So maybe you wanna bring into like a .txt, convert that to a .json, like there's free softwares that converts file for you, but it's really important that it's in a .json, as you can see, .json, and then .json. If not, Google Tag Manager is not going to set the template. So we're already in the server container. So let's just start with the server container template. So I'm going to click on admin. And then here it says import container, and then choose container file. And then we want to use the server one here. So I'm going to click on the server. And now we're going to choose an existing workspace, default workspace. And now I strongly recommend that you hit merge here, and then that's fine, and then you can hit confirm. So now you're gonna get all my tags, triggers, and variables for the server container. And if I go here, now you can see we have the Google Analytics GA4, and we also have the TikTok Events API. And if I go to variable, you can see you have my built-in variables here, but then also all my user-defined variables, which I'll explain exactly what they do in a few minutes. But now we can go to my web container. And again, just to show you, there's no tags, there's really no variables here under the user-defined variables. But if I go to admin and I click on import container and I choose the file, and now I want to select the one that says web container, click existing, select the default workspace, and same thing with here. So usually when you import something like a template inside GTM, you never want to overwrite, you just want to merge. And then yeah, overwrite conflicting tags, that's fine. And now I can hit confirm. And now same thing here, you're gonna see some tags, you're gonna see some variables, and I think it comes with one trigger. But now let me actually walk you through the tags and variables that you just added to your GTM web account and server account, because it's really important that you understand them, because you will need to tweak a few things to make it work for your website. But like I said, all the work has been done already. You just gotta make a few small changes. But yeah, let's cover that now. Great, so let me just walk you through all the different tags and variables that you just added to your web container. But actually before we do that, I'm just gonna navigate to variables, and any variable, or actually anything that says update after import, that means you got to change it after you add it to your web or your server container. So I'm just going to open this up. And what this is this is the TikTok pixel ID. So what you got to do is you got to add your TikTok pixel ID. So you need to go to Events Manager, and if you hit on Tools and you hit Events, I'm just going to restart the process so you know exactly how to get there. On this page, you're going to click on Web Events. Now I'm just going to select my testing pixel. And then if you look to the top left here, that's actually my TikTok pixel ID. So I'm just gonna copy that, go back to Google Tag Manager, and then you can paste it here. And whenever you add the proper value inside this, then just make sure you remove this, just so that you know that you've already done it, and it just saves some confusion. So save that. And now let's actually get into the fun stuff, or I guess the fun stuff. I'm gonna show you what the TikTok base code is first, and then I'm gonna cover what those GA4 tag means, because you're probably like, what the heck? Like, I thought we were setting up the TikTok pixel. What does GA4 has to do with this? But it's all gonna make sense, or hopefully it's gonna make sense in a few minutes. But let's start with this one here. So that's a TikTok base code. So whenever someone's saying, hey, yeah, can you install a TikTok pixel on my website? Or hey, like, is a TikTok pixel? Or when someone talks about the TikTok pixel, this is like the pixel code that they're referring to. And this is just like a generic code that does a few things on the back end, but the main thing that it does is that it sends a page view event. And it sends a page view event via the browser. And that TikTok pixel, I guess, ID that I just updated in my variable is actually being pulled in once the tag loads. So this is why you can just use this template, and then it's gonna work for you as long as you go to variable and update that TikTok pixel ID, because it's loading into the code here as a variable, okay? But you don't need to do anything here. This is gonna load on all your pages as long as Google Tag Manager is installed on those pages, and that should be the case for your website. GTM should be installed on all your pages, and then that's it. You really don't need to change anything here. Now, I want to show you this tag right here, because this is a template and you need to tweak the template to make it work for your website. So I'm gonna start here. So that's the TikTok pixel ID. So again, if you go update the variable, you don't need to do anything here because that's gonna pull in the pixel ID automatically. Now, you see where it says trigger event. So this is actually where you can tell TikTok what is the event that you want to send. And it's important that you actually sit down with your team at this point and just have a conversation, like what are the events that we want to send. And if you're in a service-based company, you're going to probably want to send different events that a company in the e-com space, and that's completely fine. In this specific example, I'm going to pretend I'm setting this up for my agency. So I'm going to be sending events that are a bit more like service-based, although I'm going to send a view content event, like that could also be used for an e-com store when someone like views one of your product. But another event that I'm going to send is like the submit form event, which is right here. And you probably didn't see it, but when I clicked on this, it actually opens up a drop down. I think I'm sharing my Chrome and not my window, but a great way for you to understand what are all the different events that TikTok offers. You can just click on a drop down and just look at the events. Like they all use pretty simple to understand names, like add to cart. That obviously means when someone adds a product to their cart. But I'm just gonna go back and I'm gonna select view content because that's the event that I'm gonna pretend to send in this demo. So if you keep scrolling down here, this is where you could potentially send like the customer's email, their phone number, and an external ID. I'm not gonna be actually touching that or covering that in this video because that's a little bit more advanced, but if you know how to collect that data and you wanna send it inside your tag, then go ahead, you can add it here. And what I do want to cover is the unique event ID. So that's something that you're going to get with this template, and that's really important. That's in all your web tag and your server tag. And the reason for that is because TikTok should, in a perfect world, receive an event from both browser and server. And what happens is when they receive the events from those two tracking methods, well, they need a way to understand that this is the same event. Because without an event ID, like something unique, like a unique ID, who knows, maybe that's the same user purchasing twice, or maybe that's two different users, right? So TikTok wouldn't really know, and Facebook works in the same way. So you need to add like an event, a unique event ID that's unique for each event. And that's already something that's done for you. So you don't need to worry about that as long as this variable is in here. And if you've imported my template, it's already all there and good to go. But that's really, really important because it's gonna take care of the event deduplication. Maybe a question that some of you guys have is like, why do browser and server-side tracking? Like, why not just do one? Well, first of all, it is best practice to do both browser and server. Probably in the future is gonna change, it's only gonna be server, but the reason you wanna do server-side tracking and not just browser-side tracking is because with server-side tracking, you're actually collecting the information about your users yourself. So you're collecting the cookie, the IP address, you're collecting what kind of like computer the user is using. And then from there, you're actually, because you're collecting that data, you're sending that to your own server. And then once it's in your server, you can send it wherever you want, right? Nothing can really stop a server to server connection. Like, I mean, probably there's some ways, but that's not something that your regular ad blocker or iOS or Safari can do. So that's why once you have the data on your server, you can then send it to the TikTok conversion API. You can send it to the Facebook conversion API. You can send it to GA4. Nothing will block that. So that's why server-side tracking is really, really popular right now. That's also why you should not just be doing browser-side tracking. That's all good. I'm just gonna go ahead and save this. And I'm gonna add a trigger. So I already made a trigger before this demo. It's called the view content. And the reason that I didn't add a trigger in here for you guys is because the trigger that you're gonna use is gonna be different than the trigger that I'm using on my website, right? So you wanna tweak that setup to make it work for your website, but the majority of the work is, like I said, is already done. You just gotta add the trigger. So now that's saved, and after that you should kind of understand like how you can tweak the TikTok template, what I just showed you, to make it work for your website. But now I want to just cover like the GA4 tags and why they're there and what purpose do these tags serve. So the first thing I want to say here is that these three tags, the GA4 basic, GA4 lead, and the GA4 view item, do not send any data to GA4, okay? Think about more as like these tags are sponsored by GA4, because here's what happens. Like any GA4 tag right now, like this, what it usually does is that it collects the information about the users. So GA4, like, you know, will collect the cookies, they will also collect the IP, what kind of user agent they're using, and a lot of other stuff. And what they'll do usually is they'll send it to their own server, and then their server is, you know, Google Analytics 4, then they process the data, and then you can analyze the data. And usually, like, let's say something like an ad blocker will probably block that request for being sent, because again, they're trying to block all that. That's what they do. So what we're doing here is we're using the infrastructure. So we're using the code that GA4 made to collect the information about your users, but we're putting a stop at where it's actually supposed to send it to GA4. Because when we open up a GA4 basic configuration tag, here there's an option that says send to server container. If you were to not check that, let's say we uncheck it, then that input box here would disappear. And then at this point, yes, it would just collect the information about your users and then send it directly to GA4. But once you select this here, if I can hit on the question mark, so send all events associated with this GA4 configuration to this specific server container URL. So we're putting like a stop and we're saying, hey, no, don't send that to GA4. Like just collect the information, but don't send it to GA4. Instead, send it to my server container. And then here we have a server container URL, and I'm gonna show you how you can tweak that, because that's just like a dummy server URL that Stape gives you when you're creating your account. I'm gonna show you how you can actually, first of all, if you wanna test it with that, that's fine, but how to connect it to your own subdomain, because what you wanna do is first party tracking. So you wanna use your own subdomain. So what I mean by that is, my agency name is Vertex Marketing Agency. So a good server name for me might be like SS, stands for server-side tracking. So ss.vertexmarketingagency.com, and that's what I used as, I guess, my server URL. So just make sure that whatever subdomain you select is unique and you haven't used it for a landing page or anything else. So that's the only thing to keep in mind, but we'll talk a bit more about that later in this video. But what I want you to understand is that those tags do not send data to GA4. So if you're saying, hey, Cedric, that's great, but like, I already have like another GA4 set up and I don't want to duplicate my data, no worries, this will not do that. If you want to send data to GA4, then no problem. I'm going to show you how to do that later in this video, because that's something you do on the server container, not in the web container. But this setup here will not send any data, and that's actually why I have a dummy measurement ID, and you can actually leave it like that, because the measurement ID you put here does not really matter. The measurement ID, that's something we're going to set up on the server container when I show you how to send the data to GA4. But that's something I want to clarify, because this does not send any data to GA4, and I don't want you to think that you're going to duplicate your data if you have another setup or anything like that. We're kind of like just like piggybacking off GA4 in order to do what we want, which is TikTok, you sending data to the TikTok conversion API. Now we've covered the basic. I'm just gonna cover this one as well with the view item, because you probably will need to change a few things, and I want you to make sure that you understand how it works. So GA4 has their own event name. So GA4, for example, a view content is called a view item. And you got to use their specific names in order for GA4 to properly understand what the event is. Because if you want to use a standard event inside GA4, they use specific names for that. You could always use whatever event name that you want, but then at this point it would be a custom event. But this also doesn't matter if you don't want to send any data to GA4. Like you could say banana, that's fine. But because I'm also going to show you real quick how to send it to GA4, I'm actually just going to use a proper standard event. And if you want to know the list of all the different GA4 standard event, you can just go in the description of this video. I'll link one of their articles, so you'll be able to like read all of that. But view item is the event name for GA4. For TikTok, they have the same event, but they just call it something different. They call it view content. And I think even Facebook, they also call it view content. So that's the only thing that's a bit confusion, because I can't send that to TikTok, because TikTok will not know what a view item event is. They know what a view content event is, but not a view item. So what I did is I actually added this field here. It's called TikTok event name. So inside this tag, again, let's say you're a service-based company just like me, and you're like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna be sending a view content event and a lead event, or a submit application event, sorry, to TikTok. Then here, that would be your view content event. Okay, well, view content. And then that's perfect. The cookie name, the event ID, you do not touch that. You only need to change this. And then here you want to have the same trigger that I have for my TikTok web tag. So the TikTok web tag had a view content trigger. So now I can just save this. And if you look here, that's my GA4 view item tag, and look at my trigger, and then look at my TikTok view content tag and the trigger. So they have the same trigger, and that's really important, because this event, this is browser, this one is server, okay? Not yet is gonna be sent to my server container, but let's just visualize it this way, okay? So the bottom one is web, and this one is server. And then same thing with this one. So that's my TikTok web event representing a lead, or in this, it's actually a submit form. I just call it lead, so just because I understand what a lead is better. And here, this is my GA4 lead, but that's for server, okay? And I would want to make sure that the trigger is the same for both of these tags. And in order to create a trigger for that, I could just go to my contact us page, and if I just, let's say, submit the form, it should redirect me to a thank you page. Perfect, a thank you page. Now, if I copy this URL, so that would be like a lead event, I guess, for my agency. So now I can go here, I can open up my trigger, and I can just create a new trigger. And I can say page view, some pages, and let's say when the page URL, where are you? Page URL, and we'll say when it contains thank you, and now I can just maybe just name it lead trigger. So that's good. So now that's inside my GA4 tag, which again is responsible for server events. And now let me just open up my TikTok web tag, and then I'm gonna just add my lead trigger and save it. So really important that the events for browser and server always have the same trigger. But that's pretty much it for the web container. So now if I actually were to publish this, well, I would have a bunch of events being sent to TikTok via the browser, and then I would have my GA4 tags that tries to send data to the server, but we haven't set up the server container yet. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to your emails, and like I said, it came with 2 emails. So that's the first one. The second one is actually the one right here. So there's gonna receive a welcome email like that, and you gotta click on set password. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm just setting a password. Okay, so now I am inside my stape account, and if I go right here, I want to go to recent GTM containers, and I'm going to click on create container. Now we just got to give it our container name. So if I go back here, I'm going to switch back to my TikTok Cappy demo, and I actually named it TikTok Cappy demo, so I can use a similar name. TikTok Happy Demo. And then the container configuration is really important. That's what the one you want to copy and paste. So I asked you to copy it earlier in this video. I actually don't remember what I did with that copy, so I'm going to copy it again. So click on manually provision tagging server, and I'm going to click on copy, and let's go back to stape, and then I can just paste that here. Now the server location, you want to pick a server that is the closest to you. So I'm actually located in Canada, so I'm gonna select this one, but most likely if you're watching from the States, then you can just select maybe this one here, or the center, or the west. But yeah, just select the server location that's the closest to you, or sorry, the closest to your customers, your clients. So now I'm gonna click on create container, and then this is where you can pick a plan. You can just stay with the free account, but that's going to be a little bit more if you're a really small company. And if you're a really small company, then maybe even like the TikTok pixel and server-side tracking is a bit too advanced for you, but most likely you guys are going to be on the Pro plan or the Pro Plus plan. I would say just start maybe with the Pro plan, or if you're a big company and you know that you're going to need more than 2 million requests, and just go to the Pro Plus. But just to give you an idea, like the Pro, like 10,000 requests for the free plan, like every time a user goes to your website, like in one session, they're gonna visit, let's say 3 page, like scroll, like let's say that they send us a total of like 5 events. Well, that's like 5 requests, so it does add up. So this is not 10,000 sessions or 10,000 visits. Like one visitor can like trigger multiple requests, so just keep that in mind. But since this is a demo, I'm just gonna stay with the free version. So continue with free plan. I'm gonna select my country. Perfect, so now I've just created my container, and if I scroll down here, it's actually giving me a tagging server URL. So I'm gonna copy it, but I strongly recommend that you set up your own subdomain. So you're gonna click on add a domain, and then like I said, let's say that your company is, let's say it's called example.com, okay? That's your domain name, a $10 million domain name. So a good server name could potentially just be ss.example.com. That's simple. Add a domain. If you don't like SS, you can name this server. Just maybe don't name it TikTok or tracking or anything like that. Like, I think SS is a really good server name for what we're trying to do. And you would click on add domain. So I'm going to click on that. And you could either add your own CDM, or you could use like a stape CDN here. And then if it might be easier if you just use the stape global CDN. And then what's gonna happen here is they're gonna give you 2 records. So you wanna add the A record inside your DNS provider. So let's say GoDaddy or Cloudflare, and you wanna add the C name. Now, just remember that the name is SS for this one. The name is load.ss for this one, okay? And then this is the value, all right? So just remember that. If you're not too sure, talk to maybe your DNS provider, or the person that maybe built your website, or maybe the person that built your website. Like usually they're pretty competent when it comes to adding DNS. So maybe just reach out to the person that built your website, and he or she should be able to set that up for you. But strongly recommend that you do that, because you want to do tracking in a first party context, and this is how you do it. But again, since this is a demo, I'm just gonna grab their tagging server URL here, and I'm gonna copy it. And I'm actually, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this tab, because I want to have both the web container open, and I also want to have the server container open. So let me just go back to my TikTok tracking web container. And now this is where I'm going to go to my tag, and I'm going to open up the GA4 basic and just add my stape server here. So if you just added your own custom subdomain, you probably just actually want to start with the stape server just to test things, because this subdomain probably will take 1 to 2 days. So just keep that in mind. And if you want to make sure that everything is working, I guess, well, and continuing following along this video, then you probably just want to use that. And then once your subdomain is ready, in probably like 1 to 2 days, then you can just go and change it. But that's good here. So I'm going to save that. And then the other thing you want to do now is inside your server container. So you want to go to admin, and here where it says container settings, you want to click on add a URL, and you basically want to just connect your server container with this URL right here. So now I'm going to click on save all the way at the top right, and go back to my workspace. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to variables, and I'm going to walk you through the tags and clients and how everything works. So same thing here. Whenever there's the update after import, you need to update the variable. If not, it's not going to work. So this is for GA4 measurement ID. If ever you don't want to send data to GA4, then just honestly, you don't need to pay attention to this. That's not really relevant to you. Just leave it as is. If you want to send data to GA4, then go inside your GA4 account, copy your measurement ID. By the way, your measurement ID will always start with the G, and then you want to paste it here, okay? Now you want to do the same thing with your TikTok API token. And in case you don't know how to do that, you want to go back inside, again, tools, events, select your pixel. You're going to see something like this. Now, if you go to settings, then scroll down, then there's going to be a button just like this that says generate access token. Click on it, and then we have the access token. So I'm going to copy it, bring it right here, and then I can paste it. And remember, once you paste it, just go ahead and remove that, just so that you know you've done that. And now the next thing would be the TikTok pixel ID, right? So you should already have it inside your web container, but we also need to add it here. So let's go back, and then TikTok pixel ID is actually right here. So again, I'm just gonna copy that, go here, paste my ID, remove this. There we go. So now everything's done here. I just didn't do the GA4 measurement ID just because I'm not going to be sending data, but I'm going to show you how it all works though. So now we can go to tags. So you have 2 tags, all right? We have the Google GA4 tag, and this is going to be pulling in the measurement ID that you have. And the trigger is a GA4 trigger. You do not need to change the trigger for the server container. That's already done for you. It's going to work for your website. And then we have the TikTok tag, and I'm going to walk you through kind of how this one works. So event name setup method. So we're not using standard, and we're not getting it from the client, because the event name from the client is going to be actually different than the event name that TikTok can understand. So we're actually going to select a custom, but it's going to be the standard TikTok event name. And the custom name is the name right here that we add. So let's say I open up the lead event. See, the name that we use is this one, submit application. So what this does is it actually looks and say, okay, well, the TikTok event name parameter, like what's the value, right? This is actually called a key. So what's the value for this key? Okay, well, submit application. So that's now gonna pull automatically the name submit application. So when the event gets sent, it's gonna send a submit application. Now the API access token, that's gonna be pulling in as a variable. The TikTok pixel ID, we just added that, right? Those two, so that's pulling in as a variable. And you can also get a test event code inside TikTok. But I'm gonna show you how you can test once everything is good to go. And then if I scroll down here, you could add page data. It should actually automatically pull page data, and here under common event data override, we're adding the event ID. So the event ID, same thing here, it's actually being pulled here. So this tag is generating the event ID, and then it's sending it to to our client first, and then this tag gets triggered by the client. I'll show you how it all works once we actually do the demo, but then that's how we're pulling that here. And then under user data, this is when we're sending the TTP. The TTP is basically like a TikTok cookie, because the way it works is when the TikTok pixel loads on your website, it actually generates a cookie, and we can actually capture that cookie and send it back to Facebook with our events, and then, sorry, not Facebook, TikTok with our events. And then from there, TikTok, when they receive that cookie value, they can match that with a customer, you know, if there's a match in their database. And then it's the same thing with the user agent and in the IP address. One thing I want you to keep in mind is for TikTok on the web side of things, we're actually sending a page view event when we are triggering this code. So this code sends a page view event, but for whatever reason, based on my research, we're not able to send a page view event via the server. Like that event page view only happens on the web side of things and not server side. So just keep that in mind. So if ever you're like, oh, that's cool, I want to send the page view event and the view content and the submit application event, but I don't see the page view on the server side, that's because it's not there. So don't worry about that. Just worry about like the main events, like view content and also like submit application or place an order. Okay, but that's pretty much it for this tag. And that's actually all set up for you. As soon as you change the TikTok API token, the TikTok pixel ID, there's nothing else that you got to do. Like I said, the trigger is already all there and set up for you. So now I'm just gonna talk real quick about the client. So what this does is it actually collects the information that our web container, the GA4 web container, is sending to the server. So this is actually what's collecting the information. And then what we're doing here is in both of our tags here, we're saying, hey, whenever a client name that's called GA4 collects information, like whenever that gets activated, I guess, then go ahead and send our information, because we know that whenever our GA4 client claims a request, well, that's because it's coming from GA4. So we know that we want to send the data to both Google Analytics 4 and also to the TikTok conversion API. If you didn't want to send data to GA4, just go ahead and delete that. So go to tags and delete this. Don't delete the client, just delete the GA4 tag, and then it's not going to send any data to GA4. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to get to the demo. So I'm going to preview both the web and the server container, and I'm going to show you how everything works. And after that, I mean, you can do the same on your end. Just make sure everything works and you're good to go. You're going to have a setup that sends events via both browser and server to TikTok. All right, so let's test everything. So the first thing to test your setup is to preview the server container first. So I'm inside my server container right now, and a good way for you to know if your server container or web container is whenever you see that tab right here that says clients, that's when you know you're in the server container. So previewing my server container. Now, if you've added your stape subdomain, right, or I guess, yes, it's subdomain, if you added that into the settings of the container, right, like I showed you under admin, then container settings right here, then when you preview it, you should see something like this, and you should see like the GTM server container loaded. If you're seeing that, then congrats, like you've you've done something right. But now you should also be seeing events coming in while you were previewing the web container and going through the flows that you've set up, right? So I'm now in my web container, and I'm gonna hit preview, and I'm just gonna connect it to my website. And that's perfect. So now I'm connected to my website. I'm just gonna go to the contact us page because that's actually what triggers my view content event. And if ever you're going through your website, so you're previewing one of your page and then you don't see this that says connected and you don't see all of that here, maybe I have a little bit more on my end because I push other things to it, and I mean I use my website and my tracking set up for other things than just the TikTok tracking. So on my end, you probably will not see all of this, but you should see that, let's say your TikTok based tracking is firing, because it should be firing on all page, right? So when you're, let's say, going here, you should see that this tag has fired. So that's number one. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure that it's actually coming also in your server container. So this is my server preview right here. And we visited two pages, right? So we visited our own page, and then we also visited our contact us page. That's why you see it here. And now if I go to tags, we can see the TikTok events API has succeeded. Now, one thing I will say is if ever you go to page view, you see it failed. And if I go to another page view, it failed. Remember what I said earlier, and that's actually on purpose. We do not actually want to send a page view event to TikTok via the server because it does not exist. Based on your documentation and from what I've seen, you cannot send page view server events. If ever I'm wrong, please let me know in the comment section, but I looked everywhere and they don't talk about it. They only talk about standard events. So it's to my assumption that we cannot send page view events via the server. So that's why it's failed, but I've set it up that way on purpose, okay? So that's not gonna send any data. But let's take a look at the view item because that's the one that's really interesting. So if we go to requests, we can see that the GA4 client claimed it. And I don't know if you remember a trigger on the server side of things, but it's whenever our GA4 claims a request, then go ahead and send those two tags, right? The TikTok events API and then our Google Analytics for GA4 tag. And then what I want to show you here is the event data. So this is the data that this tag right here, the GA4 view item, this tag right here is actually sending the data right here. So we can actually see what it's collecting. So if I scroll down right here, so it's actually collecting my IP. It's also collecting if I scroll down here, my user agent. So I'm a Windows user, so that's actually my device. And it's actually also, as you can see, it's collecting a bunch of different kind of stuff. It's also collecting a TikTok cookie because that's in one of the parameters that are inside my tags, right? If I go to the GA4 view item, we have the TikTok cookie. And then what we're doing inside my tag here, if I go to tag and I open up the TikTok events API, and if I look at the outgoing request, so the outgoing request is what TikTok receives. So TikTok, when they're receiving the data, it's not in a nice, cute template. They receive data like this. So it's basically an HTTP request. So we're making a post request to this URL, and then that's the request body, okay? It's in a JSON format. So if you know how to read English, then you should actually be able to understand this. So it's actually pretty easy to read. So don't be scared by I know it kind of looks like code, and it kind of is, but it's actually really easy to understand. So the event source is the web, the event source ID, that's the value. Then we can see that the event that we're sending is a view content event. The event time here, that's a bunch of numbers. That's a unique timestamp. So that's just like a really, really accurate timestamp, like in seconds. Now the event ID is actually the event ID right here. And if I go to my if I go to my web container right here and I open up the GA4 view item, this event ID is actually the same as this event ID right here. So it's the same event ID. And now here's telling us, okay, well, here's the page URL. That's like my contact us page. And if I scroll down here, now we're sending the IP, the user agent, and we're also sending the cookie to TikTok. So we're sending all this stuff in that request. But again, all those things are done for you. But again, all those things are being sent on your behalf because you've imported my template. So this is already all set up and connected. So that's going to be inside the request. And then here we have the response body. It says that, okay, that means that they've claimed the request and it was passed through successfully to TikTok. So that's pretty much it. So obviously now what I could do is I could go and submit the form on my website to make sure the delete event is working properly. But I know it is since I've set this up so many times, but definitely for you, I recommend that you test all your events and make sure that when you're looking at your event, that you're seeing the succeeded message, and when you open up the request and you go to and look at the outgoing request, that all the information that you wanted to pass with that request are there. And if you're more advanced, you can also pass like the user's email, first name, last name, also via the server side, which that will help with the event matching, which is going to help with your TikTok results. But you don't need it, but it is recommended. Now, definitely what you want to do is go to your web container, go ahead and publish it. Then you can also go to your server container, right? So if you go to workspace, you want to hit the submit button and then go back to your, sorry, that's your web container now. Hit the submit button because if you do not, I mean, your setup is not going to be actually working because you got to publish it first. But guys, that's really it. So let me just recap what we've covered in this video because we've covered a lot. So we're now sending data to TikTok via the web. That's all been taken care of. We have a GA4 tag inside our web container that sends data to the server container, and then once the data is in there, then we're deciding to send it to TikTok, and we're also sending it to GA4. But you could also send it to the Facebook conversion API as well, right? So that Facebook receives that data. And I've made another video showing you how to do that as well. But it's really important that we're doing both browser and server, and then after watching this video and implementing what I've just showed you, you should have that set up. But if there's any questions, go ahead and ask them in the comment section. But guys, that is it for this video. Bye for now.